Nothing like a good groove, man. I love this groove, man. Hey, some of my videos talk about PTSD, right? And it's a condition basically when you go through enough terrifying or violent or horrific experiences in your life, and they change you. They change something inside of you. Okay? Yeah, pressure, brother. Pressure. Let me turn this down a little bit more. All right, so I've met some brothers with PTSD, some non-brothers, right? And once you meet one of these brothers, all right, a lot of people really don't understand, okay? I had this one friend. I can talk about him. I can talk about them both, but I can't tell you their names, right? All right, so there's this one man down in Florence, and he was a non-vet, and he was mentally ill, described by the government. He thought he was in Normandy, but not in Vietnam, right? So he did PTSD really, really bad. It caused a split. So it seemed in his personality. And this is what everybody accepted. Now he was a very interesting fellow because I'd be like, I'm gonna call him James, all right? I go to his house, right? And James would be sitting there like a little sore. Okay, so he'd be sitting there like or smoking a cigarette. And he was always mumbling, right? Or he'd be lying on his back, right? So everybody thought this was his psychic break, right? So talk about a blind man. This man taught me to see. All right. I'm getting chills just talking about this, man. All right. So this is back in 2003 when I lived on the coast near the end. And near the end of things, I was going homeless. I was like in the game. I was dealing with a lady who was like off the hook, like the town, right? You know, and a lot of battles going on. So I lost my home and I'm staying at this guy's house because he's my bro, right, man? Because I come over there and his place is dirty and I just come over to hang out. And he's my neighbor, right? He lives down at the end. I got to know the guy. And I'd be like, hey man, let's clean the dishes. And he'd be like, oh yeah. And he'd just stand right up and he'd be just totally normal. Hey James, you want to have something? And start talking to me? Totally normal. But as soon as he had alone time, he was back to right? Last chance. This is our last chance. This is ourselves. Under pressure. Under pressure. Ooh. So I was under pressure, right? Things are running through my head like a freight train, and I'm like trying to come down, and I'm lying on his couch, right, man? And he's next to me, right? And there's a special thing that, like, why people call me Thor. There's this thing inside of me that says you're safe. No matter what, you're safe, right? With me. And so his voices got loud, right? And his voices began to talk. And there were 2 or 3 voices. And they were talking about the same thing. They were talking about everything I was thinking about. It is the most interesting thing in the world to hear the echoes of your own mind in another man's mind. Okay? So upon that night, I saw what this man was. Alright? He wasn't mentally ill, he had a gift. He had like a gift beyond. I think they laddered him. Alright? There's a comment that I used. I told them the next day. I'm like, you got a gift, man. You're not ill, man. You have a gift. And it's okay. It was given to you, and it's okay. And you are still the same man. You'll never change. And I talked to him about some other things that I want to bring up because they were more personal to him. All right, but I want to the idea of the story, man. Oh, no sunshine when it's gone, when it's on. This guy had PTSD, man. He had a split in his personality. All right. He also had another side that if he thought he was in danger, he could become extremely dangerous because he was a soldier. All right. So I came again to another Vietnam vet, and I began to tell him that story, okay? Because he's in a battle of his own right now, and he's fighting his way out. I see this new light in him, and I see people when they're in their fights, right? Like I have for many years. I've been sending people home from the game long before I went home. I sent 100 souls back. I gave them, like, you know, something inside of themselves that they could realize that was beautiful. So anyway, so I began telling this man this story. This man has severe PTSD. Gone. As soon as I said, Nom. Gone. One, that the inner spirit that's here, that's Thor, that always sits inside of me, sat very quiet and let him know that he was sick. Two, I turned around and I put on some Beethoven and I just waited. And I shut that door quickly by saying, you're not ready for that talk right now, and I won't bring it up until you are. So these are people who have different levels of PTSD. Now, some of the guys right now coming out, I can only imagine. All right, some of the same extremes, and these are young men and they're violent. They've been taught to be soldiers. All right, I've been taught to be a soldier, but also a soldier of peace, and thank the Lord that I have that inside of me. Right. And thank the Lord that I also have come to a level with my PTSD where I can try to be communicative in the very beginning. And so, yes, it's been used as a weapon against me many times by police because they're like, oh, he's got PTSD. If we get close enough to him, maybe we can cause a reaction. And which usually happens. The reaction usually is I'm telling them my condition, and I begin having episodes even more violent so than I was before. Now there are some officers who quickly given me space and realized that, you know, I said I'd be okay, and they were all good with it. Then they just went on their way. And he said, you know, people are freaking out. And that's when I wrote on the back of my sweatshirt, right? So now I just run around my home. But so my PTSD, I got a pretty good handle on it because I can communicate even though I'm having an adrenaline blast. I don't go into a blackout. I allow the flight as opposed to the fight to take a hold of me, to try to distance myself from the possible bringer on of this PTSD, which is usually a cop who's trying to bust me while I'm sitting there having a medical issue. So I'm not down with that, man, right? And that's not a good combination. But the fact that I can communicate that on a level, you know, and see, I've been talking to somebody earlier today. All this is not healthy for me, talking about police and PTSD, but it is healthy to process it. But internally, if I get into an argument about police or something, or cops are on, literally on TV, I have a PTSD reaction from it. It's, it's just what it is. So I think I do pretty well on my communication and the understanding of, But I wanted to share that with you because maybe it'll help some other people if you understand some people in your community or in your loved ones or some soldiers who return and who are trying to free their mind. I've been sitting here just wasting time, drinking, smoking, just trying to free my mind. When you see some shit that's so fucked up, clean and simple FUBAR. I've seen a lot of FUBAR, man. I've had a lot handed to me. But others have seen way more. Okay? And those are the ones I'm trying to communicate for right now. Alright. Peace, man. All my duckets and all the soldiers, man. Hurrah. You know what I mean? Thor. Peace up, all.